This conference will now be recorded.
Good morning, friends. Welcome to GoOnlineTrainings.com. So today, let us talk about one more interesting concept that asked by, this question was asked by Sonia yesterday. Okay. So how to get the data from the linked server, right? It is also called as a remote server or linked server or the server which is, somewhere in this from your company, something like this. So normally, uh, let us understand like this. I have a server. This server is called as a SQL server, or it could be Oracle, or it could be any other RDBMS, right? I have a database. I have one more database, okay? So we can have database one and database two. So let us say I have iBank database, and I have one more database called, let us say, uh, school database. I have these two databases. Whatever be the reason, I have some tables here and I have some tables there. I have some tables here. I have some tables there. So we can always go to any database. For example, I go to school database and write select star from account master table. So I should be able to get the data from here because I am pointing to iBank database. Now I don't want to change the connection. So I wanted to get the data from, let us say, one more database. So let me take, I have, let us say, yesterday we have created a database called iBank. In this also we have created a table, right? So we have created account master table, branch master table. So if I wanted to use this, so what normally we do, we again write like this, right? So you need to go and copy and paste. So instead of this iBank, so what we do? We're going to be using this. And you're pointing to now this. And in this again, we have a master table. We should be able to get the data, right? So I'm changing the context of the database. So here I'm going to be executing like this. So here I'm going to be executing like this. But I don't want to, change my connection. I am in this, but I wanted to get the data from this table as well by pointing to this. Now, can I read the data from here? For example, now I don't keep anything like this. Okay. Now I may be anywhere. For example, I may be in school database. If I'm in school database, can I get account master data? I don't have, I think, school. I have, let us take. So I have something like this, sales at TARDIS. Let me point to TARDIS. I am in TARDIS database, but can I execute this query? This query will not get executed at all. So how do I do that? So what you can do is that you can read the data from another DB, even though you are pointing to this. What is that you should do? Simple thing is that a database name you need to put it. So you need to say iBank, then dot schema name. So when you go to iBank, so when you go to tables, so you should be able to get a schema called DBO. So DBO is a schema. Why schema? I will explain. Okay. So DBO is schema a master. So when you execute like this, even though you're pointing to TARDIS database, so you should be able to get the data like this. Okay. So remember this. So now I wanted to read a data from iBank. No. So what I should do? I have to go here iBank dot schema name DBO dot a master. So this table, even though I'm in the TARDIS database, but I should be able to point to a master from the iBank database. So this will get ignored. This will get ignored by the SQL server. So this is going to be getting the data from the iBank database. Clear? So even though you're trying to, put anything here, doesn't matter. So now iBank, we have one more table, this one. So I should be able to execute. In this, there is no data at all. So how can we read the data from another, database? Sometimes what happens, I'll tell you. You have some data here. Let us say you have account master table and you have transaction master table here. So let me say they create one more database called ibanks, ibank2, but in this they may keeping am master and branch master. Okay, branch master, these two tables are there, and in this we have a transaction master, and in this table, in this database, we may have a product master. Like that, the complete tables are divided into two. One is called ibank, the second one is called ibank2. If I wanted to join the tables coming from not from single database, from more than one database, but these two are available in a single server. So how do I join? If you're pointing to this, if you're pointing here, so how do you write it? You will be able to write like this. You will be able to write, let me write the code here. Use iBank, okay? Use iBank and go select star from the AM because AM is available here. So pointing to iBank. Join as a join, but you wanted to join TM, but TM is not available in your database. TM is available here. So how can we join? You can say ibank2 dot dbo tm, clear, as t. Now you can give on condition on a dot account ID is equivalent to t dot account ID. So this already we know it, right? So a dot account ID and t dot account ID. So this is how you should be able to join the data, join the tables, even though these two tables are not in the same database. But only thing is that the tables are available in different databases. So this is the thing that you must use. So database name dot dbo dot this one. For example, let me open new query window. Okay, now I say I am pointing to master. Master is your system database. But how do I read this table? When I say select star from this table, will it work? That is not going to work because you're not pointing to account, ibank database. Now this is there in ibank database, which is not going to work. Even though you're in master database, you can say from where you want to like to read. You can say database name dot the schema name. When you open this, you should be able to get the schema name, that is dbo. So dbo you can write dot a master. So it is going to work. So that means you need not write anything here. So you can have you can point to anything, but whenever you execute like this, you should be able to get this kind of a thing. So ibank dot dbo dot a master. So this is going to be working. So a master table is available in ibank database. The schema is dbo. If the schema is DBO, you need not write DBO as well. So it is similar to like this. Okay, it is similar. You can remove the DBO here. You can simply put a dot dot. This is also perfectly fine. Clear? So if you have DBO, that you need not write it. You can say ibank dot dot a master. For example, I would like to read, the transaction master table. The same thing I could write like this. Okay. So it is saying T master table. I should be able to execute like this, even though I'm pointing to master database, but still ibank dot dot T master. Clear? So I wanted to read not only from this database, so I would like to read from the one more database. Select star from the let us say adventure works. Okay, a lot of tables are available in this. Now I wanted to say the database name dot dot, or you can say DBO error log. I would like to read from here. So you can say if you're giving DBO, you should remove this dot. So you're pointing to some other database, but you should be able to get the data from this. Now I wanted to read, data from this one. So let me say this is the table I have, and double DBOs are available. You can simply remove them. You should be able to get the data. Now I have some data. So even though you're pointing to some database, you should be able to read data from the another database. But remember, instead of DBO, you can simply put a dot dot. So it is going to work. Now I would like to read the data from this table. So let me say Control C and Control V, and the database name is called this. The table name is called this. Okay. The schema is called human resources dot department. It is not DBO. Okay. So it is human resources dot department. So this is what you need to execute it. Okay. If it is a DBO, that you can remove and put dot dot here. So if it is a DBO, you can just simply remove that. But if it is any other thing, you cannot simply remove and put a dot dot here. Let me just check it out. So it is not going to work at all. Clear? So remember, if it is a DBA, whether you write or whether you delete, whether you put dot dot, it is going to work because AW build version is having a DBO. Clear? So there is no issue. But department table is having human resource. Clear? So definitely you have to write the compulsorily the schema. Clear? So why schemas are created? People may ask you these questions. Okay, why schemas are created? What is the advantage of the schema? Schemas are created to provide security to the tables. Okay, so when we're talking about security, we'll discuss about this. So schemas are created to, what is called to provide the security. In simple terms, for example, this is my database. Okay, this is my database. Let us say iBank database or AdventureWorks database. Now here I have a lot of data. I have marketing data, I have sales data, I have HR data, I have X data, Y data, a lot of data. So all the tables you can create with the default schema, that is .dbo. So that if you don't mention anything, it's going to be giving you a schema called a DBO. Otherwise, you should be able to create a schema first. So how to create a schema? You can say create a schema name. For example, if I would like to create a schema, so use iBank. Okay. So create schema. Say I would like to create a schema called HR. Okay. Create a schema called HR. It is going to be created. Now I create a table. Create a table. Let us say employee, and I would like to have employee ID, integer, and primary key. All of them you can have, and employee name. So varchar 100, right? So say null or not null. So I'm going to be creating. I don't want to give any schema here. So this is my simple table I'm going to be creating as part of iBank database. I'm going to be created. Now let me go to iBank and refresh this. So you should be able to create a table, the table of employee. By default, you're getting a schema called employee. Clear? Now I would like to create same table with the schema called HR dot. Okay, so what is HR? HR is a schema. Employee is what is called in an employee table. So already I have created. So can I create one more? Let me check it. Okay, still, even though you have employee table, you should be able to create your table with this, and you should be able to find out one more table is available in HR department. Okay, so now you can also create schemas like this. Okay, so you can also create schemas like this. Nobody will create the table with the DBO schema, the table with the schema. So that is normally we don't create, but we can create. So if you have same table, name can be created, And but only thing is that schema can be separated. But if you try to create one more table, it is saying already there is an object called this. Okay, now let me drop this table first. Okay, I don't need this because I would like to. Now let me delete this. So if you want to create a table with schema, you need to create a schema and use this. And if you want to create one more table, create a table, let us say department. So if you don't say anything, it is going to be giving you DBO, but I have created a schema called HR. Clear? So I can give HR, HR dot department. So this belongs to department ID. So let us say integer. Let me copy this. Okay. So department ID, then we can say department name. Clear? So it is part of this. Why people are going to be using schema, I will tell you now. Okay. Now I have created this. Now let me refresh. I'm able to see lot of tables, not part of DBO. So lot of tables I'm creating part of HR. Now, why is this? People are going to be doing it, I'll tell you. Now, we create a tables with a schema called a DBO if you don't give anything. So this is lot of tables are available with DBO. Lot of tables are available with dot HR. This is dot DBO, database owner. This is dot HR. Okay. Now tomorrow, if I wanted to give the permission, okay. So you join, I join, many people will join in the companies. Thousands of people are going to be joining, right? So now you join, I join, lot of people are going to be joining. So you are assigned to a schema called DBO schema. So you have created a schema, right? You will be assigned to a DBO schema means you and me can get the tables of only DBO. Okay, so the DBO schema is going to be used to create some kind of a grouping. So you can know that these are accessible with the help of a DBO. So all the users, Sanjay joins tomorrow a company. Okay. Sanjay will get assigned to a schema called DBO. And tomorrow we have Bill is getting joined a company, IT company, non-IT company. But if you wanted to use the tables, you have to have a permission onto the database. Within the database, we have to have the schemas also. Within the database, what all you can access. If I give the complete permission on Adventure Works, Sanjay and Bill can access complete tables. No, they should not access complete tables. So I would like to have one more, what do you say, group. So Bill and Sanjay are assigned to DBO schema. So whatever be the tables part of DBO, only these people can access. For example, this is Gautam is also joined today in this organization. Even Gautam is also assigned to this. Now Gautam, Sanjay, Bill part of this schema. Now I may be HR, joined in the company. So I will be assigned to a schema called HR schema. So when I assign to HR schema, so whatever be the tables part of HR, that only I can access. But you can access Adventure Works, Gautam can access, access Adventure Works, Bill, Sanjay, everybody can access Adventure Works as a database. It doesn't mean that, so this guy maybe this guy is John. So this guy cannot get the data from DBO, or Gautam cannot get the data from HR. So what is the purpose of schema? When you create a schema, so when you give the permission to the database, all the tables within the database, you people cannot access it. Okay, so the schema is going to be separating the tables. So HR data can be accessed by only the people who are owning HR schema. So when you join the company, you are given user ID and password, and you should be able to, your user ID and password going to be added there. So this is the logins, right? So here we need to create a new login. We need to add. So after adding it, this you have to, add some roles here. Clear? Securables, whatever you would like to add it here, you should be able to add it. What can, whether you need table, or whether you can access, whether you can given permission to the schema. So whatever be the object that you can choose here, you should be able to give the permission to that object. Okay, you can access a table, you can access a database, you can access a schema, or you can access a stored procedure. If I create a schema, give access to you. For example, if I create a user called Bill and I go to the securables and I would like to search for the schema, whatever we have created, then I give it. So the bill is can access only to that schema. So whatever be the tables part of that schema, so bill can access. So whatever be the permission you wanted to give, you should be able to give. Okay. By default, we can give public, and the public means it is very basic permissions will be given. So that is the first one. Then later, so what is the schema is going to be is going to be having, so that you have to give it. So create a user bill and give some public by default, because is not sysadmin. This is the one by default will be there. And the user mapping, what databases you should be able to map it. So bill can access a database called MergeDB, or you can access a database called India in iBankDB, or whatever be the database. In this, again, what he can do, he can only read the data. Some basic permissions can be given. So whatever he can do, so that we are a writer, reader, DDL admin, lot of things you can check. So the bill, accessible to this database. So this is the bill, right? So is accessible to this database. So, and within this database, what he can do. So within this database, you can go for securable and provide the schema, whatever we have created, that you can assign him. So the bill is mapped to iBank. So within the iBank, all tables he cannot access it. He should be able to go and get only the tables of HR, only the tables of that. So you need to include and click on OK. So that is how the permissions can be applied to the database level. So within the database level, I don't want to give all the tables, permission to these guys, right? Because end of the day, the companies are going to be, having a lot of data. Data is the wealth for the company. Try to understand. For them, it is not the code. Sir, I have written a lot of code. I lost the code. So people will be scolding you. But if you say that, sir, I have a lot of data, but I lost the data of the company, then definitely you will be taken to the court. Clear? Because code can be rewritten, but if they lose the data, they will not be able to get the data. So what is important? Code is important or data is important? Definitely data is important. So where is the data available? In tables. So how can we give access to the tables? So the thing is that you need to give the permission to the database. Within the database, you can give the permission to the schema. So this user can be allocated within this database and that schema, so that schemas can be implemented. If you wanted to read the data from one more database, then definitely you must use database name dot schema dot this. So this is a very important thing that you have to know. Are you clear? So how to create a schema? This is how the syntax to create a schema. If you wanted to drop a schema, you can say drop schema name. Okay, top schema name can be done. But before dropping that, drop all the tables, then drop the schema. So that is how you should be able to do that. Clear? But now, so forget about schemas and everything. People may ask you, can I read the data from somewhere else? So how do I do that? So the thing is that db name dot schema dot table name. So this is what you have to give. Clear? You should be able to do this, and you should be able to get the data. And if you wanted to join the tables, and the tables are not in the single database, these are completely available in different databases, then you need to use this kind of a structure. Am I clear? Now the next question is that I have data. Let me take one more thing. Okay. Now we are talking about linked service concept, right? What is a linked server? And where exactly we're going to be using linked server now? I have some server here. This server name is called, let us say, Kedar. Okay, this is my server, which is there in India. This is a SQL server. And I have created a database called, iBank database here. Okay. So within the iBank database, I have created few tables. I have created a table called, let us think about account master table. Only one table I have created. It is storing this data and which is there in, let us say, India. Now I have one more server, whatever be the reason, I have one more server. The server is called as, let us say, you can give any name. Say the server name is this Kurinji. So which is available, let us say it could be SQL server or it could be Oracle. Okay. So it is Oracle server and it is available in US. Okay. Who's maintaining these two servers? The company is maintaining these two servers. The company, let us say, we're talking about iBank company. So iBank company is maintaining two servers. Okay. And they have the data. One database is available in this machine, which is there in India. Some of the data is available in one more server, right? And here also we're creating one more database called iBank or iBank2. You can give any name, okay? iBank2. And here they kept one more table called transaction master table, okay? Now try to understand. So this is very, very complicated environment I'm talking about. Now you have a website. So the client is going to be connecting. So you are the client. You will be connected to this, using the front end java.net. You should be able to do a lot of transactions. Okay, cash deposit, cash withdrawal. Whenever you're opening an account, the data is going to go to this table. This database, this table. But whenever you're doing a transaction, your application is inserting the data into transaction master table. But this is, in the Oracle, and this is in the iBank database. Can we have like this? This is one website, icicibank.com. When you are doing any kind of a cash deposit or cash withdrawal, so all the data is not into a single database and not into single, server as well. So you may be having some of the data is going to go to SQL server, which is there in India, and some of the data it is dumping into Oracle. So the name is called Kurinji, which is there in US. But both of them are working for iBank, Indian Bank, company. So if you do cash withdrawal and cash deposit, the completely it is storing into this. If you wanted to get the data from here, so this can talk to this. But now the question is, how can we get the data from this server? So this server wanted to communicate to this server and read the data from here. For example, whatever be the reason, I would like to join AM and TM and create a report. That report I would like to display it here. Or either this fellow has to talk to this fellow, at the same time this fellow also should be able to talk to this fellow. Clear? For this server, this could be a remote server. For this server, this is the remote server. Clear? If Kedar wanted to read Kurinji, then Kedar machine cannot simply get the data because you have to create what is called as a linked server concept. Clear? Kedar has to create what is called as a linked server. It has to create. So what is the linked server to the Kedar? Kurinji. Clear? So Kurinji is the linked server. So then only my machine can go to this machine and get the data. Okay. If Kurinji wanted to read the data from account master table, again you cannot get it. Again, this fellow, this guy, Kurinji server has to create a linked server, that is the Kedar server. Clear? When the linked server is created, then only these people can communicate. These people can communicate, otherwise not. So after communicating, if I wanted to read the data, so what is the syntax? Okay, now I say, so I may be using use iBank. So use iBank means where I am, because iBank means I'm in Kedar. This is iBank do. So I am in Kedar machine. Okay, go. So select star from the account master table, join. This is a local table to the Kedar server, right? But now I wanted to read the data from iBank 2 and TM, but the server name is Kurinji. So you need to write Kurinji, okay? Dot iBank, iBank, what is the spelling? iBank 2 dot DBO dot TM as a T. Clear? So you can say as A. So this is how you should be able to read the data from the remote server, linked server. Then you say on A dot account ID is equivalent to T dot account ID. So it is going to be giving you the data, but you people think that all the data is available in a single machine. The answer is no. This is coming from the SQL server, and this is there in India. This is coming from Oracle server. This is there in the US, and this is what is the linked server. So when you create a linked server to Kurinji, then only you should be able to write the data. So how can we access the data? This is what is the syntax. If you wanted to read the data, okay, read the data. Are you able to understand? Read the data from the linked server, or people will say remote server, whatever they're calling. Okay. So the SQL server is saying linked server, but Oracle people are saying remote servers. If you have some data in the remote server, in your server, you need to link that server as a remote server or a linked server. If you're in US and you wanted to read Kedar, okay, for example, Gautam Sanjay is accessing this server, and from there they would like to access this. So for the Kurinji, Kedar would be the linked server. Okay, so like that you should be able to have. So first you need to create a linked server, then only the syntax will work. Otherwise it is not going to work. So what is the syntax? Syntax is very simple. Select star from server name slash database name slash schema name slash table name. So this is how you should be able to get the data from the linked server. Read the data from the linked server means this is the syntax that you have to know. Okay. If you wanted to read the data from another database means only this will not be there. That's it, nothing else. Okay. Database name dot schema name dot table name if you wanted to read the data from one more database within the server. But if you wanted to read the data from one more server, you have to use server name dot db name dot schema name dot table name. But first, if you wanted to use this linked server, you have to create a linked server first. Otherwise, it is not going to happen. But how do I create a Kurinji as a linked server? Okay, Kurinji as linked server. So to create a linked server, the steps are here. So you need to go to SQL Server, and you can go to server objects. These are the databases that you have, right? Below that you have a security. Below that you have a server object. You can simply, expand. There is a linked server. What is linked server that you know? As of now, we don't have any linked servers. So I have to create a linked server. Now right click on this new linked server. Clear? So the server name already you know. The server name is called Kurinji, right? So I am in Kedar now because my machine name is Kedar. How do you know? So you have to know this. What is your machine name? Select @ server name. So if you execute this command, what is your IP address, server name, everything will be given. So I am in the Kedar. Now Kedar wanted to take this machine, Kurinji machine, as the remote server or the linked server. The Kedar wanted to establish, right? Now I go here, new linked server. Now the linked server name is called Kurinji. Okay. Now, is it a SQL server or any other one? That's what you need to say. If it is a SQL server, you need to choose If the Kurinji is Oracle or something else, you need to provide which connection you would like to use it. OLEDB or ODBC, whatever you would like to use, you can use that connection and you should be able to use it. Normally, OLEDB can be used so to connect to that. Okay, OLEDB can be used to connect to that service provider for such something like this. Product name Oracle something, data source, IP address and everything you should be able to give, and where is this available. So the complete information you should be able to give here. And whenever you're trying to connect, for example, product name is Oracle here, and data source you give IP address or something of Kurinji, and the product string, database name, lot of things you should be able to give. Now, whenever you connecting from this server to this server, you have to provide a security. Okay, let me give. So you think that it is not Oracle, it is not Oracle. Let us say this is also SQL Server. So this can be any server. Try to understand. It could be DB2, any RDBMS can be a linked server. Remember this point, and people may ask you this question. I have a SQL server. Can I use Oracle as a linked server? Can I use MySQL as a linked server to SQL server? Why not? You can have any RDBMS. So how can we connect? You need to connect like this, because by default, when you see, it is giving you, see this, by default option is other data source only. What is the meaning of this? In many times Microsoft knows that it is not a SQL server, it is a non-SQL server. The linked servers are remote servers, always non-SQL servers. It could be MySQL, DB2, or Oracle, or PostgreSQL, Teradata, Netezza, something like this. So by default option is this. But you can also choose SQL server, then automatically you can connect. Clear? You can give your name as Kurinji. Now, whenever you're trying to, connect it to the Kurinji, so within the network, it will work, it'll search now within the network, because iBank is going to be having the complete networks. This has to be there in the network. This has to be there in the network, right? So only thing is that if there is the network, we cannot access. We need to create a linked server. So now when I give Kurinji and say SQL server, and what I do, I create a login. So now when you're trying to execute this, command. Now you have created, now you're trying to execute this command. When you're trying to execute and going to the Kurinji will ask you, who are you? Kurinji will ask, who are you? You say that I am one client, I am the one connection coming from Gather. And at the time of going there, you supposed to have a user ID and password. For example, I am working in Microsoft. I invited Sanjay to come to Microsoft. Okay, now I have given a pass. So you take this gate pass, Sanjay, you come to the Microsoft. I will be sitting in building number 1. Let us meet. So as soon as Sanjay reaches the Microsoft, the first question people would ask, who are you? Then Sanjay has to show us the pass. Okay, I got a permission from one of the employees here. His name is Bhaskar Jogi, and this is the pass I got it. Now the security will see that authentication is allowed. Now I can go inside. The Sanjay can go inside of the Microsoft and do whatever you would like to do. It you would like to meet, Bhaskar Jogi for some kind of a conversation. So that's how the things would happen, right? So whenever you're inviting somebody, definitely you have to go with the pass. Otherwise, the other person will not allow you. So Kedar is going to the where? Kurinji. Then Kurinji will ask, who are you? Then I'm saying Kedar. Okay, Kedar, fine. Then what? So you need to tell them that be made using, okay, be made using this security context. Okay. So now Sanjay is getting a password of Microsoft. Sanjay may be working in IBM. Sanjay cannot take, I am working in IBM. Let me enter into Microsoft. No, no, no. Sanjay has to get the pass from where? Pass from the Microsoft only. So here you have to create a one user. Let us say Kurinji slash, we have to create one user, whatever be the user, one user. For example, Bhaskar is available there. Okay, and Bhaskar user ID and password should be given there. So test 1 2 3. Clear? If the Sanjay goes there, Sanjay user ID and password are not accepted in Microsoft campus because Sanjay is from IBM. So whenever Sanjay is going, Sanjay is supposed to use Bhaskar's user ID and password, Bhaskar's name and Bhaskar's pass. Remember, so you cannot carry your IBM pass and go to Microsoft. No, that is not valid. You have to know one person in Microsoft, and they supposed to give their user number, their Microsoft ID, something, so that you can go inside that. So here you have to have one user. That user should be part of Kurinji, not part of Gather. Clear? So now click on OK. So this is how a linked server is created. Clear? It is very simple to create a linked server. Now we're assuming that this is not Oracle, this is a SQL server. Okay. Now there should be a user in this. The user is called Bhaskar. Okay. So there is a user I have created here. The username is called Bhaskar. So the same Bhaskar user ID and password I have to get. So otherwise, so this fellow cannot do anything. Remember this. Okay. So this is called Bhaskar. So Bhaskar is a user here. So when you are establishing connection here, you have to carry a or the security permission of a Bhaskar. Kurinji/Bhaskar. The user ID and password you have to get it, and that you need to give it here. And tomorrow, Kurinji wanted to come here. Definitely tomorrow, Bhaskar wanted to go to IBM. So Sanjay has to give the permissions and everything to Bhaskar, not the Microsoft IDs will not work in IBM. Clear? Now here you may be having a Sanjay or anywhere. The Sanjay user ID and password will be given here as a link itself. Clear? So that is how you need to work. So if the Sanjay resigns and gone, if the Bhaskar resigns and gone, then the linked server is not going to work. So you need to again come here. So you need to come here and give a new guys. Bhaskar was working that time. Sanjay was communicating with this. Now Bhaskar resigned in Microsoft, but Sanjay still wanted to work with IBM and wanted to meet Microsoft. But in place of Bhaskar, tomorrow some new guy comes called Peter. Okay, the Peter username and password you should be able to give here. Then again the linked server is going to start. Remember, clear? So whenever you create a linked server, which is very simple, that you can create. So it is not going to work because I don't have a this kind of two servers, and which is not going to work at all. But in the real time, this is how you need to understand. Clear? When you create linked server only, this syntax will work. If you don't create a linked server, if you go to Kadar machine and try to write kurinji.ibank.2.dbo, this will say that Kurinji linked server is not available. Now you have to come here and check whether it is available or not. Okay. So what is happening? So it is not there, it is giving you some error. Let me create. Okay. It is also creating and testing with the Kurinji. So this fellow now creating the Kurinji server as a linked server, and is also testing, try to establish a connection to that server. Now it is saying the linked server has been created, but failed to connect, connection test. Do you want to keep the linked server? Yes. I would like to create a linked server. Now whenever say linked server, the Kurinji server is on, I test the connection once. You can say test connection. It will fail. So don't worry about whether it is a successing, failing now, because end of the day it is not going to work for us. In the real time, you need to create linked servers like this, and you can use any table from any database, any server. Nobody knows about it. It is not able to connect. Clear, guys? And you will have a lot of linked servers. You can see a lot of code like this. Lot of code you should be able to see like this in your real time. All stored procedures, all views, all functions will be getting the data from some other databases. Sometimes you will be able to get the data from the remote servers or the linked servers. You have to create this as a linked server and make sure that when you test the connection, so it has to get succeeded. Otherwise, even though you have a created linked server, you cannot execute this syntax. It is not going to work. It will tell that linked server is failing, it is not responding, Kurinji is not responding. Make sure you test the connection, and sometimes you need to see some properties as well. Okay, some properties you can check it out here. When you go to security, this is the user ID and password working or not. Server options, when you see here, RPC and data access must be in the true. So you should be able to get the data. If you make it a false, even though linked server is available, you cannot access the data. Remember this. Okay, so sometimes I had seen the issues. This will be false. If this is false, you cannot access any data from that server. So make sure that this is on. So how did I come here? Very simple. Right click on this, you go to properties. Okay, so data access, RPC and RPC out, sometimes you have to make them also on. So RPC and RPC out, these are the protocols that the connection may be using it. Sometimes if it is not working, try to make it on, try to make it on, try to establish the connection. So these are the things you need to do it, and you try to work with them. Clear? So data access must be true. Otherwise, you cannot get the data from there. So okay. So creating a linked server is pretty much easy. Let me create one more linked server. So it will take 1 minute. Right click on this new linked server. Give, for example, I would like to create one more server. Let us say 192.0.1.10 is a linked server. So this is also one more SQL server. You can choose like this and go to security context. Now in that server, be made without using security context. This is one thing. Be made using the login current security context. Okay, or be made using, so in that machine, whoever is there, so that user ID and password you can get it. Okay, so this user ID and password. If you have somebody, you can just give there.
Excuse me, Bhaskar, can you explain
Dash.
what are the three options here one more time? Like for security?
Be made without using security context means there is no security at all for this service. Clear? You can access that. Be made using logins current security context means whoever is logged in. So that is Bhaskar is logged in now, right? Now we can see Bhaskar, Kedar, Bhaskar. Now Kedar Bhaskar is logged in here. So this fellow also should have a permission to this Kurinji server if you're using this. For example, you are working in IBM, you are working in, I am working in Microsoft. Now you're saying with Sonia's, request only, with the Sonia's user ID and password only, I should be able to go to Microsoft. Or with Sanjay user ID and password only, I should be able to go to Microsoft. If that is the case, Microsoft has to accept it. Okay. So what normally we'll do, even though Bhaskar is not available in Microsoft, Sonia is not available in Microsoft. So Microsoft is going to give you permission to the Sanjay, saying that he is a Microsoft visitor. So that is the point. So whoever is be made using the logins current security context. That means what? Now Bhaskar is, able to access Kedar. Now same Bhaskar is going and getting the data of Kurinji. That means Bhaskar should have the permission on Kurinji. The same user and password should be also added in the Kurinji server. So that is the meaning of that. Clear? Otherwise, so always your connection will go with this. Okay, one person we know in Microsoft, one person we know in Kurinji, that user ID and password we're going to be using this. Please, that is also one more thing we can have it. So
So
click
the
on
last
OK.
so the last option is say do you, like if it is you said that if one person is really like a network administrator, they use a service
Yeah,
account for
DB,
this maybe.
DB account. These are the DB accounts. DB, database administrator accounts, that will be there to create that. Okay, DB account. For example, you join in the Kurinji server as a DBA, your user ID and password, or you create one more user ID and password. You give admin access to that password, and that password you can give it to these fellows. Okay, saying that linked server admin, something like this. You give
And who provide this? The we have to ask to the
DBA, DBA,
network DBA.
DBA,
Okay.
no, DBA team of the opposite server. Okay, DBA teams. Those people will be giving you only user ID and passwords that you should be able to do it. Okay, but now as a developer, can we do all these things? No, because servers going to the production servers and asking your username and password will not be given to you as a developer. So the linked servers will be established or tested with the DBA guys only. We never create, because we don't have access to the linked servers, because linked servers are always production servers. Okay, developers will not be going to these machines and ask the user ID and password of the DBA, and you cannot tell them that I will create a linked server. No, this is not at all done. So all DBA people have to create linked servers. They'll tell you the name of the server. That's it, nothing else. Okay, how they have connected, this is the steps they would have followed it. So this is not your activity. So they will tell you the linked server name. That's it. Okay, then after that, what is the database name, what is the table name, that you should know, so that you should be able to write. So in the real time, developers will not work on the creating linked servers. Clear? So that is how you should be able to know, and you should be able to get things done. Clear, guys? This is what is called linked server, and this is how we should be able to, you know, get the data from remote servers called as a linked server. And if the linked server is not there, you will not be able to get the data from another server. So remember that point as well. Thank you, guys. Any other questions?
Bhaskar,
Yeah, sure.
when you say ODBC connection, that is other database connections, and OLEDB connections, right? That is object linked embedded database connections.
Yeah, yeah.
What difference? I mean, of course, it's a too technical question, but what difference between these two connections has?
See, ODBC and OLEDB, I think I would have spoken about this. I don't know. These are two drivers. See, the complete global data is divided into two parts. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
we are veg and non-veg, like that. The complete data either in SQL or in non-SQL. Only these, the data of the complete global data I'm talking about. The data may be in SQL, that means RDBMS, or maybe in non-SQL. Non-SQL means files. Okay, you may be having Excel data, CSV data, XML data, image data, video is a file, audio is a file, image is a file. Okay, Excel file. So
Mm-hmm.
the data could be stored only in these two formats in the world. What is that? SQL and non-SQL. Non-SQL means files. Now, if you wanted to read the data from SQL, so more data is available in non-SQL, right? So this is SQL data, RDBMS data. So these are the data coming from the files, non-SQL data. If you wanted to read the data from here, you have to use a driver. The driver is called as ODBC driver. ODBC drivers are used to read the data from where?
SQL,
Other database, connectivity.
ODBC, yeah.
Clear?
Yeah,
ODBC drivers are used to read the data from RDBMS. But how do I read the data from non-SQL, that is files? That is where we have used OLEDB.
correct.
Clear?
Yep.
So
Very good.
OLEDB is okay.
Mhm.
So OLEDB drivers are used. It can read the data from here as well as it can read the data from here.
Actually, this
Clear?
what you explained today is very important from interview perspective, because a lot of time if anybody like SQL
Hmm,
guys, if
hmm,
they
hmm,
talk about OLEDB and ODBC, he's always like a short for a candidate for the company. If you know about this environment,
Right,
yeah,
right.
yeah, okay, good,
I always
Is
talk
it
about this in SSIS. Yeah. So
yeah,
now
Bhaskar?
OLEDB
Is
always will talk to ODBC internally and get the data. On top of that, you have a lot of other drivers. So you have Microsoft is giving ADO driver. That is also one more driver. ADO is internally using again OLEDB only. It is calling OLEDB. So that means OLEDB internally calling again ODBC. Again, Microsoft is invented one more driver for ADO.NET. So whatever be the thing, Whatever be the driver you're having today, all the drivers are going to use internally OLEDB. OLEDB will talk to ODBC.
Okay.
So these are the wrappers, ADO, ADO.NET, all of them are the brokers or the wrappers, or you may have JDBC, this driver, that driver, all of them, end of the day, either they have to talk to OLEDB or ODBC. ADO, ADO.NET driver, when you're using, indirectly you're saying, I'm going to use OLEDB driver. So OLEDB driver is again using ODBC to go to SQL, and OLEDB directly get the data from the files. Yeah, tell me, Sonia.
I was saying that like so you said like OLEDB is the best way if you have the mixed environment, SQL and other database, always. So I believe the OLEDB is the,
Yeah,
best.
everywhere you can you will use OLEDB only, right? So when you install MySQL or Netezza, they will say OLEDB for Netezza. That driver you need to install. OLEDB for SQL, OLEDB for Oracle, OLEDB for Java, OLEDB for Excel, OLEDB for X, OLEDB for Y. You will have like that. Okay. So you will have OLEDB drivers for each and every application that you need to install extra and just have it. So end of the day, OLEDB is going to work internally, even though you're using ADO driver, ADO.NET driver. Remember, you're again connecting to OLEDB. Clear? For example, you have a brother or kid. So they'll come to you, they'll ask you, Mom, I need a pizza. So you are going to be connecting to the chef only, right? So end of the day, the chef has to make the pizza. Whether you ask or your brother is asking the pizza or anybody is, approaching you for pizza, you're not going to be creating it. But why will they come to you? Because you are known person there. So ADO.NET people. So these guys are known to this ADO.NET drivers. Clear? So .NET people are going to be connecting to this, and end of the day, this fellow is connecting to this. If I ask you some pizza, then you're not going to be making the pizza because you know to me. So end of the day, you're going to be giving the activity to the chef. The chef is going to be connecting and giving a lot of things. So ADO.NET, all of them are the brokers or the agents or the wrappers. You can think like that. Yeah, good question. Thank you guys. Any other questions?
No, thank you very much. Thanks.